Years ago, back when I was a grad student, I went to an NYPD precinct in Brooklyn for field research. As I was leaving the precinct office, a sergeant came in. "Say, do you speak Chinese, don't you?" he asked. "Yes, I do," I answered. "Great. I need to talk to this Chinese man in the holding pen." "I'll do it," I said before he could finish. He needed an interpreter. Off we went to the jail. It was my first time in an American jail, and quite a shock. I had never seen so many heads glued to bars, so many hands holding onto bars, and so many eyes staring at me. After getting over the initial shock, I spotted him. He was in center front of the pile, short and slightly built, looking lost and nervous. Oh, I thought to myself, the poor guy won't make it in prison. "Tell him he has the right to make one phone call. He can call his daughter," instructed the sergeant. I did. The man shook his head. I repeated the instructions several times, and then tried different wording, to no avail. The man pointed to his ear and said something in Cantonese, a dialect I hardly understood. I turned to the sergeant and made a face. The sergeant was incredulous. "What? You don't understand each other? I thought you said you speak Chinese." "I do," I said. "I speak Putonghua, standard Chinese speech." He speaks a local dialect, Cantonese. "And you don't understand each other? How can that be? I thought all Chinese understand each other." "Nope," I said. "Wait. I thought of something. You have pen and paper?" He got me a pad and a pen. I wrote the instruction on the pad and showed it to the man. He motioned for the pen and pad and wrote, "Understood." "Okay, he got it," I said. He understood what you wrote?" the sergeant stuttered. "Yes. We may pronounce the words differently, but when we write them down, they are exactly the same, thanks to our first emperor who standardized the written words more than 2,000 years ago." The sergeant was amazed. "What did you write there? Let me see." He studied the pad closely and wowed a couple of times. Then he held the pad where both of us could see. "What does it say?" I tracked each word with my index finger. "You have the right to make one phone call. You can call your daughter. Understand? You can call your wife." And he wrote here, "Understood." "Oh no," the sergeant shook his head. "He can't call his wife." His sudden change of heart confused me. "Of course he can. It's his constitutional right." The sergeant cut me short. "He can call his wife. He killed her. That's why he's here." The first emperor that I mentioned to the sergeant was the first emperor of Qin, the greatest ruler in the history of China up to the 20th century. Qin is the dynasty that replaced Zhou. Remember the Fengjian system introduced by the Zhou rulers? It worked well for a few hundred years. The vassal states held up their end of the deal and dutifully paid homage to the king. But as time went by, the power dynamics shifted. The ruling Zhou court grew weaker, partly because it kept granting land as reward, reducing its own size and resources. At the same time, the vassal states grew more powerful and began to ignore the king. They traded land, which was illegal, took over other vassal states, and fought full-fledged wars with one another for land and influence. Until at last, the 7 states left standing, Qin among them, became de facto kingdoms, and the Zhou court was reduced to a mini palace with a front yard. Then, one of the Qin kings decided to end the charade and kick the son of heaven out of the palace. In the year 221 BC, or 2,242 years ago, Qin defeated the other 6 states and unified China. The Kingdom of China became the Chinese Empire. The new ruler declared himself the first emperor of the unified country and set out to make it a reality. He abolished the Fengjian system pronto and replaced it with the Junzan, or prefecture-county, system. A total of 36 prefectures were established in the country, with a number of counties under each prefecture. Officials governing the prefectures and counties were appointed by the central government for fixed terms and then rotated so that no one could build up a local base to challenge the central government. The central government was led by the emperor and 12 officials he appointed, the premier, vice premier, commander-in-chief of the army, and 9 ministers, each in charge of one government department. They convene regularly to discuss issues, with the emperor making the final decision. Under this system, all the land under the sky belongs to the empire, and all the officials in the land are government employees. Officials no longer owned the land they govern, or held official titles for life. They were subject to appointment, transfer, and firing. That was only the start. To ensure full implementation of central government policies, the first emperor of Qin standardized the written words, or characters. Up till then, the former states wrote some of the characters differently. If left unchecked, the characters would be written more and more differently, to the point that people from different parts of the country could not understand each other in writing. Take the word horse for example. This is how it was written in each of the 7 states. The solution was to create a standard character based on the one used in the state of Qin and discard all the variants. But the standard characters, called xiaozhuan, were hard to write. Each character is like a beautiful drawing, with the artful curves and all. So a simplified version, called Li Shu, was adopted for non-official use. That is, if you are hand-printing an official document, then you must use the standard characters. But if you are writing out an IOU to your next-door neighbor, then you can use the simplified version. With the simplified version, curves were mostly straightened, and some strokes eliminated. So it is much easier to write and therefore, to learn. Fast forward to 2021, horse is written like this, and it is used for everything, official documents and private IOUs. On the economic front, the first emperor standardized weights and measures. The most pressing concern at the time was tax collection. Back then, taxes were mostly collected in kind, that is, you paid taxes in grains you grew, not in cash. Grains were measured, not weighed. The unit of dry measure commonly used was dough. But the physical dough measure came in different sizes in different areas. So the same amount of grain might measure one dough in one place, and more than one dough in another. To ensure the taxes were collected in full, and that people paid their fair share of taxes, the government standardized the dough for use throughout the country. Also standardized were weights, lengths and everything else, so that 1 foot was 1 foot anywhere in the country, and 1 acre was 1 acre across the land. The need for currency standardization was as urgent. Here are some of the currencies used at the time. Most were copper coins, none accepted outside the state in which it was issued, with the exception of gold. 2 or more states may choose a similar design for their currency, say, knife-shaped coin. And 2 or more forms of currency may be issued by one state. Complicating matters further was the right of private citizens to mint money. Not just any private citizen, of course. It had to be those with means, copper mined to produce copper and tools to forge coins. And the money they minted varied in shape, weight and value. So the emperor avoided all currencies issued by the other 6 states. He decided that the country was to use 2 currencies only, the superior currency gold, and the common currency Qin Banliang. Qin Banliang was the currency issued by the state of Qin. It was a round coin with a square hole in the middle, reflecting the round sky and square earth belief of the time. The emperor also outlawed private money minting. Only the central government had the right to mint money. This way, no local regions or powerful individuals could challenge the economic order and threaten the central authority financially. For national defense, Qin fortified and linked up existing portions of the Great Wall and built an extra 5,000 plus miles of the wall along the northern border to defend against the barbarians in the north and northwest. The first emperor also sent troops to guard the Great Wall. They quartered along the Great Wall, cultivated wasteland, and grew their own food. As part of national defense, Qin built an elaborate interstate highway system. Before the Qin dynasty, roads were local. Each state built its own roads and barriers and fortresses to defend itself against possible invasion by its neighbors. Now that the country is under centralized rule, interstate highways are vital to rush orders to all parts of the country, mobilize troops, deliver food and supplies to disaster areas, and promote trade and commerce across the country, even the far-flung, hard-to-reach places. With those and other efforts too numerous to mention in this space, the first emperor of Qin unified China in every way, territorially, politically, militarily, economically, and culturally. The Qin dynasty only lasted 15 years. But in those 15 short years, Qin accomplished more than any dynasty in nation building. The government system it put in place lived on for more than 2,000 years, all the way till the end of Qing dynasty in 1911. The Great Wall it built helped defend China throughout history. The standardized weights and measures, in one of many instances, helped promote standardization and quality control in manufacturing, which the former state of Qin pioneered. Its unification ideology has been accepted as a cultural norm, and a unified China, the normal desired state of the country. Chinese people have learned throughout history that unified, we have peace and prosperity, and separate, we have wars and suffering. Qin, the first dynasty that unified the country, also named China for the world. Qin, China. And, perhaps most significantly, Qin standardized the written words, which, more than anything, helped Chinese people build our culture and national identity. And it ensured, then and now, that we understand each other, even if we pronounce the words differently. But the new generation is shaking things up a little bit. The other day, I saw a comment online below an episode of a Chinese TV series. The Chinese words mean, her father is, and then the English word, Facebook, and then a modal. A modal is a helping word that means nothing on its own. What can that mean? It was a period drama set in the Qing dynasty, roughly between the years 1720 and 1735. Even the United States of America was not founded yet. Facebook? I couldn't make sense of it, and had to let it go. Several episodes later, her father was executed by order of the emperor. And it suddenly dawned on me. The word Facebook was used for its pronunciation. Facebook sounds exactly like Facebook in Chinese, which means bound to die. So the poster was saying, her father is so gonna die. And he was right.